Hey there, it's Jordan with Status Coup. And as the laptop turns, the Hunter Biden story is definitely taking a major turn. And honestly, at this point, objective, nonpartisan hacks cannot actually say there's nothing to see here. It seems like there is a serious corruption scandal. And frankly, it seems like a lot of it is pointing not just to Hunter, but potentially directly to President Biden. I want to start. This is Ron Klain, the president's chief of staff. This is what he said when asked by George Stephanopoulos of ABC if the president trusted his son did not break the law in his foreign business dealings. And boy, does Ron Klain really seem to throw Hunter under the bus.
We also know the Justice Department is intensifying its investigation into Hunter Biden, the president's son. I assume the president has had no contact with the Justice Department about that?
Neither the president or any of us at the White House have had any contact with the Justice Department about that.
Is the president confident Hunter Biden didn't break the law?
Of course the president's confident that his son didn't break the law. But most importantly, as I said, that's a matter that's going to be decided by the Justice Department, by the legal process. It's something that no one at the White House has involvement in.
The Washington Post also reported this week on deals that Hunter Biden had with a Chinese energy company, paid $4.8 million to entities controlled by Hunter and the president's brother. Is the president confident his family didn't cross any ethical lines?
George, the president is confident that his family did the right thing. But again, I want to just be really clear. These are actions by Hunter and his brother. They're private matters. They don't involve the president, and they certainly are something that no one at the White House is involved in.
These are actions by Hunter and his brother James. Nothing to do with the White House. Interesting. This is actually new reporting from the New York Post, which they obviously are a conservative outlet, but they've done good reporting on this. Headline, Hunter Biden frequently covered family expenses, texts reveal. Hunter Biden's access to lucrative financial opportunities also came with expectations, including kicking back as much as 50% of his earnings to his dad, text messages on his old laptop show. Quote, I hope you all can do what I did and pay for everything for the entire family for 30 years. Hunter Biden groused to daughter Naomi in January 2019. Quote, it's really hard, but don't worry. Unlike Pop, I won't make you give me half of your salary. Pop is obviously Joe Biden. So to be clear, when Hunter Biden is texting, unlike Pop, I won't make you give me half of your salary, he is talking about that he is apparently paying for a lot of the family's expenses and either indirectly or directly giving money to, at that point, Vice President Biden, when Biden was Obama's vice president. Now, his salary comes from deals on board seats and money he was getting from Ukraine, from China, potentially Russia, that is now under federal investigation. So, you know, there's something called plausible deniability, but you honestly think if it's found that Hunter Biden broke laws, which he's being investigated for money laundering, tax fraud, and other things, that half of his salary that was going to President Biden didn't know where that money was coming from, possibly was lied to about the nature of the deals? I got a bridge to sell you. I want to play this clip from CBS News, and they give you further update.
CBS News has been digging into the investigation of President Biden's son, Hunter. Among the things we are learning is that those investigating this case have also sought bank records for another person, the president's brother, Jim. CBS News investigative correspondent Catherine Herridge is here with more details. Catherine, what is the status of the U.S. Attorney's investigation in Delaware?
Major, this began as a tax inquiry for Hunter Biden, and we've been able to confirm that sometime around 2018, it became a federal investigation led by the U.S. Attorney in Delaware. And multiple sources tell CBS News that it's broader than previously reported, that involves possible violations of tax law, money laundering, and foreign lobbying regulations. What we know about real-time information is that 2 business associates of Hunter Biden who worked with him during a period when his father, Joe Biden, was vice president, have gone to the grand jury in Delaware last year. And more recently, a woman who settled a paternity suit with Hunter Biden was at the grand jury testifying in February of this year, Major.
So, Catherine, those familiar with your work, and I certainly count myself among them, know that you not only rely on sources but documents. And you have verified some law enforcement documents related to this conversation. What do they show?
Well, Major, these documents come from 2019, and our CBS News investigative team has verified the documents, and they show that the U.S. attorney in Delaware in 2019 subpoenaed banking records from a major U.S. bank, in this case, J.P. Morgan, and they wanted all the transactions related to Hunter Biden, James Biden, the president's brother, as well as 2 of their business associates, along with more than a dozen entities, companies, including the Bank of China, domestic companies, as well as institutions operating in Eastern Europe. To be clear, what we don't know beyond these records is the investigative interest that the U.S. attorney has in the president's brother, James Biden, Major.
Wow. So it's Hunter Biden and James Biden. And let me remind you about James Biden. This was actually Politico, for once, doing great work several years ago when it actually mattered. They reported this in 2019 during the presidential primaries, where Biden was not president yet and was running. Biden Inc. Over his decades in office, middle-class Joe's family fortunes have closely tracked his political career. Yeah, that's an understatement. I want to read this part. In late summer of 2006, Joe Biden's son Hunter and Joe's younger brother James purchased the firm Paradigm Global Advisors. On their first day on the job, they showed up with Joe's other son, Bo, and 2 large men and ordered the hedge fund's chief compliance to fire its president, according to a Paradigm executive who was president. After the firing, the 2 large men escorted the fund's president out of the firm's Midtown Manhattan office, and James Biden laid out his vision for the fund's future. Quote, "Don't worry about investors," he said, according to the executive, who spoke on the condition of anonymity, citing fears of retaliation. "We've got people all around the world who want to invest in Joe Biden." Huh. So you remember when the White House Chief of Staff, Ron Klain, in the earlier clip said, this is just dealings. Hunter Biden, James Biden have nothing to do with the president. Well, apparently there was some type of miscommunication between then Vice President Biden and his sons, or brother in this case, because they felt that Joe Biden would be instrumental to their business dealings, so much so that folks around the world want to invest in Joe Biden. Are we really going to play this game of plausible deniability that Joe Biden had not a clue what his brother, what his son were doing? That comment by James Biden was so distasteful that Bo Biden basically told him never say anything like that again. Let me read that. At the time, the senator was just months away from both assuming the chairmanship of the Senate Foreign Relations Committee and launching his second presidential bid. According to the executive, James Biden made it clear he viewed the fund as a way to make money from rich foreigners who could not legally give money to his older brother or his campaign account. Quote, "We've got investors lined up in a line of 747s filled with cash ready to invest in this company," the executive remembers James Biden saying. At this, the executive recalled Bo Biden, who was then running for Attorney General of Delaware, turned bright red. He told his uncle, quote, "This can never leave this room, and if you ever say it again, I will have nothing to do with this." Bo Biden obviously passed away many years ago. So let's get this straight. You have the media who dismissed this laptop story during the presidential election as Russian disinformation. 2 years later, now have verified that the laptop was authentic, and now Washington Post, CBS, and others are confirming text messages and others that were found on that laptop. Again, credit to the New York Post and the few others that actually reported on this when it counted. But there is a deeper thing here. The fact of the matter is, it's very unlikely that Joe Biden is not talking to the Department of Justice about this, not directly. He's not stupid enough, but through back channels. And also the fact that this is even a difficult or long-lasting investigation, the fact that it's being investigated, Hunter Biden and possibly James Biden, for potential money laundering, foreign bribery, potential tax fraud, shows you how corrupt our system is. These should be blatant, blinking red light, illegal behavior for children, siblings of politicians. It should also be illegal for politicians like Joe Biden, according to his son's text messages, to be receiving half of their children's salaries that are built on potentially criminal, well, I don't want to say potentially, criminal foreign deals. And by the way, to be clear, for those that are going to freak out, obviously this applies to Jared, Ivanka, Don Jr., Eric, and frankly, their dealings might even be more corrupt than this. And I'm going to get to those in a different video. Hint, hint, Saudi Arabia. But this should be blatantly illegal, and you shouldn't have to have a long investigation. But it's not, because corruption is basically legalized in this country and the global capitalist system. It should be illegal for Hunter Biden to be serving on a Ukrainian energy company's board where he's receiving $50,000 a month when his father was a longtime senator, a longtime two-term vice president who sets government policy that directly affects geopolitical, the oil supply, and Ukraine. So the fact that, okay, I have an investigation that it needs to drag on, apparently since 2018, 2019, shows you how flimsy and non-existent our actual corruption and ethics laws are. I want to read one more thing from the New York Post, headline, "The Biden Family Scheme Unravels." If the grand jury in Delaware investigating Hunter Biden's business ventures does its job properly, it will be pulling on the threads that lead to the president, and already there are signs that that is happening. Regardless of the extraordinary statement last week by the White House Chief of Staff Ron Klain that the president is confident his son has done nothing wrong and that the inquiry has nothing to do with Joe Biden or anyone else in the White House, publicly available evidence says otherwise. It is not just the emails and other material on Hunter's abandoned laptop that point to Joe Biden's involvement in his family's multi-million-dollar global influence peddling schemes when he was vice president. There is also the 6-hour interview Hunter's former business partner, Tony Bobulinski, gave to the FBI last year, along with a trove of documents, emails, and encrypted messages. Bobulinski has publicly named Joe Biden as the, quote, big guy, referenced in emails, whose 10% equity in a joint venture with Chinese energy company CEFC was held for him by Hunter. Now the identity of the big guy has become a topic for the Delaware probe. At least one of the witnesses before the grand jury has been asked, who is the big guy? The big guy. Sources familiar with the investigation say Bobulinski has yet to appear, but if he does not testify before the grand jury, something is very wrong. So let me explain the deeper problem here. And this goes all the way back to 2016. When the media exists, the corporate media, to keep access to corrupt politicians, when the media exists to basically serve as PR agents and stenographers for corrupt politicians, then the media is going to make decisions on what it covers, what it investigates, what it chooses not to cover, what it chooses not to investigate, based on who they believe or want to be receiving access from. 2016, I was covering the Podesta emails that came out. There was no evidence they were forged or phony, as Hillary Clinton's campaign said. The mainstream media, not so much. Why didn't they want to cover it? Because most of them thought she was going to beat Trump, and they didn't want to critically investigate or cover her in the final 2 months of the election for two reasons. Number one, they wanted her to win. And number two, they expected her to win. And they know the Clintons have a very, very, very good memory. And the Clintons are legendary for blacklisting journalists, operatives, and the like. So they whiffed on it. They called it Russian disinformation. while actual journalists and independent media covered it, because we don't have a calendar set for when we can cover things and when we don't, based on presidential elections or which candidate we want to play footsie with. Move forward to this Hunter Biden story. This was a legitimate story to investigate during the presidential campaign. Why wasn't it investigated during the presidential campaign? For the same reasons. The media desperately wanted Trump out. Some in the media felt they were responsible for Trump by giving him billions of dollars in free commercial airtime through their empty podiums, showing Trump's empty podiums. But they also expected Biden to win. They expected that, according to the polls, Biden was going to win. You don't want to make enemies with the president and his administration that you are desperate for access, because access is the corporate media's oxygen. This is all a corrupt system, both financially, journalistically, and ethically. And that is what keeps the masses numb. That is what keeps the masses distracted. That is what keeps the masses uninformed. Frankly, without the Hunter Biden corruption scandal, it looks like Republicans are going to take back both the House and Senate. We know if they take back the House and Senate in November, what's the first thing they're going to be investigating? Yes, they'll probably turn their attention from trying to criminalize gay children and parents of transgender kids, or maybe they'll just do both at the same time. There will be mass investigations in Hunter Biden and then President Biden for mostly political reasons, but they won't be completely wrong. This is the United Corporations of America, and this is a scandal. I'm not in the business of predictions. I'm not betting on the Justice Department indicting or filing charges against Hunter Biden. You want to know why? Because Donald Trump's still not in prison. You want to know why? Because Hillary Clinton's still not in prison for many laws that have been broken. Same with Bill Clinton, same with Trump's kids. So, hope I'm wrong, but that's the update on Hunter Biden. We'll continue covering it. And don't forget, support Status Coup's reporting for $5 to $10 a month. It supports our investigative reporting and our on-the-ground reporting, including our year-long reporting on the Amazon organizing effort. We were there over a year ago, covering these workers, interviewing these workers outside the warehouse. And of course, we're there on the ground when they were historically victorious. And we were just on the ground on Friday for their second press conference. StatusCoup.com/join. Thanks for watching, and make sure to tune in to Status Coup's daily live stream Monday through Thursday at 5 o'clock Eastern Time and Fridays at 4 o'clock Eastern Time.